Good morning, everyone, and happy Onam to all those celebrating. We're really happy to have you all join us for this Shenomics mentoring circle on building your personal brand in the digital world, because I know that is something that is important to all of us. I think we all increasingly realize the value of becoming more visible in our careers in our organizations, or even if we're entrepreneurs. It's almost and it's become an essential thing now, and even more so now because we don't get to see each other in person as much, so all we see of each other is what we see out there in the virtual world. So the more and more we can do that, and we can do that effectively, it helps us build our own brand, which can then help us pursue whatever professional goals are important to us. It just makes it all the more easier to pursue those goals. So we thought, let's have this conversation today because it is an important one. And we have just the absolute guests or experts, I should say, who are here with us, who are going to share a wonderful set of insights with all of us on how we can do this at a very, very practical level. Like always, we're going to keep this interactive, so they'll share their insights. We want you to keep your comments and questions and insights coming in, and we'll also try and do a breakout at some point so you can also meet each other. And that's what the next 90 minutes are going to look like. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Charu Mathur to introduce our guests.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Onam to everybody who is celebrating. And Onam's all about abundance. So I hope you all have a very good and abundant life on this. This is a great day to wish all of you that. And it's really great to have Tina and Varsha join us today for the mentoring circle. Tina is also a very active part of the Shenomics community, so this makes it all the more very special. A little bit about Tina is that Tina's the CEO and founder of Pink Lemonade Communications, and she started the company in 2011 with a one-member team, and today it's grown to a 150-member team. So we all know that she's obviously doing something truly right, and has several clients, MNCs, as well as Indian companies, some smaller companies. So Tina has that spread of managing a very large scale mandate, as well as smaller companies who are trying to make it out there in the market. And so thank you, Tina, for being here with us. And then we have Varsha, who's the chief of staff and corporate marketing of Pink Lemonade, and had joined the company 6 months back, but she has made a very solid place for herself because she manages the the social media campaign and the personal profiling for Tina, and also has a great background in this area. So very happy to have you also, Varsha. So over to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charu. Thank you, Bhavna. It's always a pleasure doing anything with Shenomics, and utmost respect for Bhavna. I will ask Varsha to share our presentation. We put something together for all of you, and I hope we can you can take away a lot today. So let's get right into it.
Charu, would I be able to get share access?
Yes.
I think I just got it.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, go ahead, Varsha. You can put on present mode. So good morning to all of you, and thank you so much for taking this time out on Onam. And I know it was Varalakshmi yesterday. It is Onam today, and I am sure most of the ladies are very busy. But the fact that you've turned up today shows that the topic is of importance to you, and the fact that you're out to create a niche there for yourself, it speaks a lot. So it's absolutely understandable that you're also handling home responsibilities. But big kudos to turn up here, and let's get into what really is personal branding then. Go ahead, Varsha. So we've already been introduced, so we can quickly skip this. Let's move on to the next one. So what is really personal branding? Any questions, any suggestions, any answers in the chat? What can you put in out there? And let's understand, what do we think about personal branding? Branding, we all know. Why do we buy brands, and why do we as consumers buy something that appeals to us more? Well, what is personal branding? Quick answers, any quick words, just catchwords can be put in the chat, and we'll take a look at. Very nice. Dolly says, letting the world know about you, which is true. Letting the world know about what are you about. Anyone else? Silent morning. How the world perceives us, what you stand for, absolutely valid. Soumya and Bhavna are saying, establishing your identity, very well said, Suchita. Letting your work speak for itself. So personal branding is all of this, and the way you amplify what you really are and what you stand for in order to reach a larger audience. What is a brand essentially? It is something that people remember of you. When we talk about right from our surf to our paper boat to whatever, these common brands that we are, consuming on a daily basis, why do we remember them, and what do we remember as special about them? That's exactly what you can take to your own personal brand. What's special about Tina, and why do we work with her? Why do we want to work with her? Why do we ask to work only with XYZ? I know when I'm reaching out to Varsha, I will get something in return. I know when I'm reaching out to Bhavna, I'll get something. I expect something. That's the impression of the personal brand already created in my mind. And that's what is critical as well. And that's why people should look out for how they're setting up their personal brand. Now, today's date, it of course becomes so much more important because we're in a virtual setting. You have nothing to show in the way you carry yourself. You have nothing to show in the way you are when you walk through a place, when you come in very well presented with your book in hand, taking the notes in a meeting and things like this. Not there, right? We have virtual meetings, we have social media, we have telephone calls, and then we have those in-person meetings, which are few and far between. So the first three of them are literally 95%, 99% of our lives today. How do we turn out differently in these three places so that somebody still goes about thinking the best of us? Somebody still says, yes, she's due for a promotion, and let me look at promoting her. I like how she contributes on the call. I like how he, puts something across. But you have only that window, that little window where people are looking at you today. So obviously the world has changed, and we've got to do different things, and we've got to possibly put ourselves across in a different manner to be able to look and present ourselves for that. Let's go ahead, Varsha. So what are the different contexts that contribute, and why is it important for us to do this at work correctly? So first of all, there are many individuals on this screen itself. There are about 30 women. How are you differentiating yourself in a window like this? First of all, kudos to those of you who decided to turn your videos on, because that is something extra that somebody will notice about you. And that's where your personal branding begins. How many of you are noticing that Bhavna has a beautiful background to her? She has a lovely background that shows that she's an intellectual. She's possibly interested in reading. She's constantly in the pursuit of knowledge. These are the things that I'm taking away. I'm not sure if you're taking away these. But it looks that Bhavna is turned out very well today. She's dressed very professionally. She's presenting herself this early morning in a manner that is, impactful. And Charu's turned her video on and things. And these are things that make a difference. So reinforce what you really believe in. Reinforce what you want the world to know what you are all about. And that's going to shape the networking opportunities, the promotion opportunities, the visibility that you need, the way people perceive you at work, the opportunities coming your way in terms of projects. It does shape all of this. So we have a joke at Pink Lemonade. When Tina joins a call, everybody puts on their videos. When I'm not on the call, they don't put on their videos. And the thing is, I don't get to meet everybody all the time. But when I'm making time to meet my people, it's basic courtesy that there should be a video on the other side, because you and I get to know each other. Forget anything else. You and I will see each other once in probably 2-3 weeks. But that's the time that we can talk to each other. That's the time I can look at you and say, hey, Varsha, really nice to see you. What have you been up to? What's the best thing you've been working on? So you're engaging, you're creating an opportunity for someone to engage with you because they've seen you. And I always greet someone who I've seen after a long time. And I always ask them, how's it been going and what's additional that you have to share with me today? Because that eye-to-eye contact is a little personal chemistry that you can hope to have with someone. And that's, I mean, otherwise chemistry is brilliant, right? When we are in the office, we pat someone on the back, we, shake their hand, we boost them with a thumbs up and all of that. We can't do all of these things. And what's coming across from your side to me, what's coming across is that you've gotten up, you've made yourself available this morning, you're putting out yourself out there, you want me to notice you, you want us to have an interaction of something of some sort. And there is a little discipline that's coming through, commitment that's coming through, there's a little personality of yours that's coming through, especially when you ask a question. There's a very delicate balance when you have someone as a speaker and you're on the other side. How much do you put across of yourself? I, as a curious individual, have a lot to ask. And I understand that people realize that she must be smart if she's asking a question. I understand people realize she must have consumed what I've said, and therefore she's asking me a question. But I also am careful enough to know that I shouldn't be the one asking all the questions, because then it feels like someone's really out there to really get the attention from someone else. But I have this very, very, this is a dilemma for me because I have a lot of questions to ask and I'm naturally curious. But for the others, some of us are shy enough even to raise our hands and say, can I ask you a question? Because you feel the others will make fun, because you won't turn out as well. But that doesn't matter. You're asking a question on behalf of a lot many others who are not able to. So that's that's why personal branding begins first. Have you been able to ask that one thing? Have you been able to put yourself out there in the correct method? So when we go on back to our digital world today, what are the different ways we can make a difference? How are you speaking? How are you turning out? The way you are communicating, how well are you articulating? Have you written down or have you expressed yourself in the manner that you think you should be expressing yourself? Someone will take away something correct about you. Let me put it like this. There's no right or wrong, but what is correct for you? If you think you're correct in the way you're representing yourself, go right out there and do it. But understand what you think is the correct brand for yourself. What's your appearance? Are you happy with the way you are turning out? If yes, please go right ahead and present yourself in that manner. What's your contribution on a call? I just give you an example right now about how someone can contribute in a meeting. And that's the same way, that's a similar thing that I'm saying about contributing when a speaker is speaking, contributing to a session that is on, introducing yourself. How many of you have changed your name of the organization that you represent? How many of you have put out your gender out there? There's, often when I join a call, I try and change my name to Tina Garg, brackets, Pink Lemonade, because there is something to me that people might want to associate with me on. And that's the beginning of people knowing who I might be, because I'm professionally representing myself here. But many of us don't write what I stand for in that little renaming opportunity that I have. That much could be the first beginning for you. Paying attention on a call in today's day and age is very, very important. I've seen many people on their mobiles. I've seen many people chatting, and I've consciously turned off my WhatsApp this morning because I don't want it to ping and distract me. But many people are doing that. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, the person on the other side always knows that you are doing this. There is not a minute when they don't know. When I started this call with Bhavna, I was distracted and I was not able to concentrate because I had some checks given to me here to sign. But I didn't want to keep the gentleman on the door waiting for more than an hour and a half. So I went right ahead and signed that. But of course, it distracted me, because the reality is we cannot multitask. We might think we're very smart, and this multitasking whole phenomenon has confused us all. The fact is, your brain is thrashing in and out just like computer memory thrashes in and out. You're thrashing in and out between different things that you're looking at, and it happens so fast that you think you're multitasking. The reality is you're not multitasking. And this is one of the biggest pitfalls in today's day and age. If you're not concentrating on a call, you're certainly not able to contribute in the right manner. Concentrate, and the question that you ask, the contribution that you make, the suggestion that you take is a big one to how somebody takes what they take away about you. One important suggestion, one important methodology, or anything else that is being said in the framework or what's being discussed, And that much is enough to say, you know what, I like her questions. I like the way she thinks. I like the way she spoke on the call today. I want to know more about this. That's my little, my little takeaway, my little secret out of the 150 people that I interact with. The way you represent yourself on that screen and ask me something or contribute to something I'm doing, I will watch for you the next time as well. And there you've already created a little something to say, among the 150, this is somebody who's standing out and I want to hear her more. And then I book calls separately with those people and see, let me delve further into developing these people. And there you have it. The person in the organization who is in charge has spent more time on you. Your choice of attire, I'll come to the next one, is a critical one as well. It's very important to show people what you are, all about. Are you dressed professionally? Are you dressed? The first thing Bhavna asked Charu today, hey, you're dressed in a sari today. She noticed that about her. There's something extra she noticed about Charu, and interesting. So Charu has bothered to turn out here well, and we are looking at her and we're impressed. There's a conversation that started about the sari as well. So that's lovely. Did you give someone a chance to know you a little more today? And that's personal branding. If somebody's interested in me today a little more, I've created an opportunity for engagement. And that's what it is really. So what are you doing in terms of the way you're dressed? A little secret from my side also is, there are times that I'm really, really not wanting to turn up. And it happens to all of us. We don't want to go to work on some days. We're tired and we're bogged down. Energy levels are low, and it happens to ladies more so. We don't just want to turn up. And those are the days I want to turn my video off. But I don't have that option. So what do? And I take the brightest dress in my wardrobe, a yellow color or the orange and the pinks, and the people in my office will know what those are. And I turn up in those, because that's the day that they will tell me, hey, Tina, you're looking bright and lovely. But I'm not really feeling bright and lovely. But as the personal brand that I carry, I have to enthuse others with enthusiasm and with a degree of happiness. I have to make sure I'm there for people. I can't turn up that day looking like I don't want to be around for people. So these are little tips and tricks that you can choose as well. Color matters a lot. What are the colors that you represent, and what are the colors that you want to represent? Timeliness of joining meetings. Now, I'm personally very guilty of this one, and I'm sure many of us realize that what it's making us feel like. I'm going to give you an example straight out of my life again. There's a customer of mine who's come back to us after 3 years because he wants to work with Tina specifically. And he has very nice gentleman, and I thoroughly enjoyed my interactions with him. Every time he's booked a call with us, I've turned up 6 to 7 minutes late. And the last time he's booked a call with us, I was genuinely driving, and I thought I will hear the call and I'll switch it on, being multitasking that I can do. So I decided to answer the phone, but my phone was switched off, unfortunately, and I didn't hear the phone ring for 5 minutes. And my colleague has patched the call. So I looked at it at 11:07, 7 minutes after I was supposed to call him, and I called him right back and patched everybody in. And he said, he started speaking to me at the end of the conversation. He said, Tina, I'm just wondering, every time we book a call, every time I ask for a call, you and I always miss each other's calls. And I'm thinking that, I said, I'm really sorry the last 3 days, and they were genuinely crazy for me. And I haven't been able to answer your call at a particular time. And then he told me something which really sat with me. He said, but when you've committed to a call with me, that's when you're available, right? So you can turn up on those calls at the right time. And I understand that you're very busy, but when you committed to a time with me, you should be on those calls at that time. And I said, this is so valid what he's telling me, because he is taking away that I don't have time for him. He's taking away that I'm not interested. He's taking away that this is not the same Tina who worked with us 3 years ago. And there is a sense of callousness, indiscipline. There's a sense of, I'm too busy for you, whatever it is. And I said, you know what, I owe you an apology immediately. It will not happen ever again. And no matter what my personal life was or what's happened in those 3 days, I don't owe him the fact that I booked a call on time and not turned up. And unfortunately, this happens very often, because we are all on Zoom calls, and you cannot tell a customer across the screen, or your manager or boss across the screen, that I have to go because the next meeting starts. But you will have to find a way to say it. So one of the things that I've learned, and I learned this while I was in the US in my mentorship, Everybody operates on time, and Varsha and Bhavna have a US experience as well, and they can possibly share with you. Everybody starts a meeting by saying, so let me set down the agenda just before we start. This is what we have on hand today. We will start right now, and we will try and close it 5 minutes before 11 o'clock, which is what my next meeting is, because invariably, and we Indians have the Indian Standard Time, so there will be something that we will have salutations on and chat on. And so the way you possibly communicate that is going to set the tone for, let's try and close by 7 minutes before 11, so we can try and take that forward into the next, take close conversations and having close, discussions and takeaways from this meeting. If you do that, you're anchoring the speakers, you're anchoring the people in the room to a certain time set where they will not try and move beyond that. Because the moment you said 7 minutes before 11, when it is 10:53, they will start closing down because you've anchored them on that. So try using this so that you're not later into the next one. The tone, of course, is very important. How are you communicating? Is it sounding lazy? Is it sounding irate? Is it sounding hurried? I had a call this morning from someone at 10 o'clock. And I have to tell you what it was. I was preparing for this workshop, and I suddenly found someone who can make sari blouses online, because we are online, right? Everything is online. So she called me up and said, hi, I'm this one from this one. I want to talk to you immediately about the order that you booked, and you have a consultation today. So I said, I'm sorry, I didn't get where you're calling from. So she repeated it. You have a consultation and blah, 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 blah. She went on such high energy. And I'm also guilty of that when I talk to some of the people. But I'm looking at the first call from this person. She's not introduced herself properly, but she's hurriedly going on to what she has for me. It's creating a stress in me. When she's talking to me so fast, I have to grasp. It's my first engagement with them. The tone is just setting me off. And I really want to tell her, can you please slow down, because I'm not ready to have this conversation like this. I was in the thick of this preparation and saying, let's, do this. But it's a live example of how someone just set me off. I wanted to tell her, you know what, just cancel it. I don't want to do it. And then I said, the need is mine. So let me just, do that. The impression wasn't the best, but that's an example of what it just hurried me, because she was in a hurried morning. But for me, it was a quiet, silent morning. I'm not ready for that. So first interactions, unique interactions, important interactions, I think we've got to plan for that. How do we want to turn out on those? How do we want ourselves to be presented on those? Go ahead, please. Now, the important thing is social media as well, because if you are an entrepreneur, if you are anybody who is trying to go up in your career and represent yourself, ably on social media, on Instagram, of course, is very popular today. But more correctly, I think professionals should look at LinkedIn. I think we should look at lots of groups on LinkedIn. I think we should also look at lots of groups on Facebook. And while I'm talking about representing ourselves, and Twitter, of course, is an important one. While we're representing ourselves on this with our own content, what is important is also how are you coordinating and communicating with somebody else's content. I can see Dipali on this call who's trying to engage with somebody, and maybe she has a valid thought to put across to somebody else who's communicated. But Dipali is the woman of substance who's got a stance on something. She's immediately picked up something from the chat, and she's spoken about that. Similarly, there's a lot of content that we're putting out there which has importance in the way we are talking on LinkedIn, especially. I've noticed this very, very ably. Somebody comments on something that I post, and I post on marketing communications very often, but somebody can immediately pick that up and know that I have a whole lot of CMOs and marketers on my network, and they can engage with my content so somebody else notices them as well. Likewise, if Dipali is posting something, I should be using that opportunity to engage with Dipali's audience. Maybe I'm not, but I should be. Bhavna, give me 2 minutes. Ladies, I want to just change my network. I hear my inverter beeping, so I don't want this to cause a problem.
No worries.
Meanwhile, you can tell me whether my speed is okay or I'm going too fast, because I have a lot of examples to share.
Attendees, are you okay with the speed that Tina is taking to deliver the content? Speed is fine. They're saying it's fine, Tina.
I'm sorry, you'll have to allow me to come right back, okay? Varsha, you want to take the rest of this slide? You can help them, because I want to get to another network. It's not allowing me without shutting the Wi-Fi. Okay, so Varsha, you can talk about this and what we discussed in terms of what is what their goals are and how it meets up to have social content out there for them. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. So social media is a really powerful tool when you are trying to establish yourself as a thought leader and as a credible source of knowledge and expertise in the industry that you're working in, or what your skill is, or what you are good at. And of course, social media platforms provide a multitude of benefits, of course, amplifying you to a larger audience. Fulfilling business needs, which means that if you are looking to connect to people in terms of a lead generation, sort of a goal where you'd like for people to, understand your brand, and then, they think, okay, this person is someone who I trust with my work. And so I would like to do business with them. Establishing thought leadership, of course, professional connections. LinkedIn, especially as a professional platform, is very helpful with this. Personal goals, if you are also someone who's looking to maybe, you want to grow as a mentor, you would like to be somewhat of a public speaker at some point. This is a way for you to sort of, and again, outreach and support. So opportunities, these go hand in hand. If you're looking at, becoming a public speaker or a mentor of some sort, this is a way for people to sort of identify who you are, understand what you're good at, and then they'll reach out to you for opportunities and things like that. Of course, SEO, it also helps with that because you're putting out content and you're using keywords to identify you and your brand. Of course, because of the multitude of platforms, it can get overwhelming to be on all of them at the same time. So, the good thing is that you can pick those platforms that help fulfill your objectives and goals, and stick to, the platforms that you can manage, but will optimize, your objective and goal.
So SEO is a really important one, which we don't realize, but most of these platforms are naturally indexed on Google and things. And therefore, it makes great sense for you to put yourself out there. Shanti Jha, you're looking lovely this morning, and thank you for turning your video on. So why does your personal brand matter, and why should you care even more? Let's go ahead and discuss that with you. Few points here. Of course, they're pretty obvious to some of us, and after we've been discussing it for so much time, but it really indicates what you're really standing for. So Tina likes marketing communications. Tina likes branding. She's interested in that. Bhavna is very specific, very interested in coaching. She's looking at women transformation. She's really looking at different methodologies, and she speaks her heart out with examples that we can associate with. Showcase who you really are. I know Bhavna is extremely conscious person who is caring for the earth in the way she shares what she does in terms of sustainable fashion. She is interested in fitness. I know this about her. It speaks a certain degree of, like I said, the discipline, a degree of self-motivation. It speaks a lot of these things about her leadership qualities. And the fact that she's a caring individual, it speaks about her, even though she and I don't speak so much. We take away all of that by what she shares on her social handles. Taking charge of your narrative, instead of somebody else writing about you, you write what you want the world to know. And you write often about that, it will be indexed. And that's what will come up first. Because when people search for Bhavna or Tina or Varsha or Shanti, whatever it is, people will notice what you've put out there more than what others have put out there. Creating a definitive standalone name for yourself. And my suggestion here is also, if you are somebody who is, even though you're employed by a corporate and you are somebody who is an expert at anything, you should be going out there and booking your website right away, because the domain names out there will result in you eventually creating your own brand. Domain authority comes more with the name booked out there. Of course, you've created your standalone name being on Twitter for something, Insta for something, and you've been known by that. But go a step further, go book yourself a website and create what you're about. I have so many women, and some lovely women I've met at Shenomics who are employed elsewhere, but they're looking at a career eventually where they are good at something and they want to go all out with that. They're thinking of developing their own personal brand where these aspects are concerned. Charu, you smiled at that. You want to share something with us?
Okay. Wow, Tina, you really do notice. So yes, it's just that, when we were talking about booking your domain name, I think it is important if you really do see value, or you want to do, even in a far future, because I've really struggled with domain names, having been in communication and worked with clients. It is, most of them are taken. You think that you've got something really exceptional, but most of them are taken. That's why I was smiling.
I agree with you, but when you're talking about Charu, Mathur or Bhavnatur, you can prefix and suffix that. I'm Bhavnatur, or
Right.
something like that, which you can. I'm not being very creative right now, but you can look at different aspects that
Yes.
can be used. And I can assure you in the next search that will show up first if you have a website, because that's
Okay.
how SEO works. Of course, it helps boosting your career, because even if you are employed somewhere, you can give your employer the credit and say, I'm presently employed as this at this organization, and here's what my work entails. But then use that website and that blog or whatever that you write on, use it frequently, because if you don't have time for it, then you go right ahead and post on LinkedIn, because that's where people will notice you more. But use it to express what your thoughts on something are. Use it as current affairs. If you're in diversity, please talk about certain things, like Afghanistan is a very, very big one right now. Talk about how women can help. Talk about what you can do in your little bit. Talk about what it would mean for tomorrow for someone. Yeah, we can go back one sec, please. I think it's moved to the next one. Yeah, and it really does showcase who you are in that sense. And the examples I gave you about Bhavna, fitness, sustainable fashion, and speaking, she posts sometimes on her holidays as well. And Bhavna, I can assure you, this just comes to mind when I think of you, because you're doing it so consistently. You're doing it as what matters to you. You know why? Because Bhavna is not just a coach and an excellent leadership and mentoring coach and in women's development. She's also a person who is known for some other stuff. And that makes me respect her. That makes me want to reach out to her. That makes me bond with her on something. And the next time I know I'm talking about something around sustainable fashion, I want to reach out to Bhavna and say, you're an expert in this space. Can you help XYZ? Can I connect you to an XYZ brand that's looking for an influencer? I don't know. There are so many opportunities. But it's also very important to bring out another side of you, because what's your professional brand? We all know at work, people have started noticing you already. What we're talking about today is how are you amplifying that? But other than your professional brand, why should somebody care about you on your personal brand? What do you stand for? Are you a caring individual? Are you somebody who reaches out and asks to help others when they're going through a crisis? At Pink Lemonade, we often tell people, you can come join us definitely for your skills, but you will also join us to help somebody else, because it's very important for us to be and have an ethos like that. If someone's having a bad day, are you the one who goes and taps their back and says, you know what, go home, I got you covered, I'll finish it for you. Tomorrow when I have a problem, somebody else will come and help me. But that's what we are as a people, and that's what we like our people to be like. So who are those people? Can you show some little bit of caring? I really don't want to take this as an opportunity to say anything about myself, but the one little thing, there are little things that we care about, because I am a detail oriented person. I know that if someone likes some kind of cuisine and if it's being cooked in my house, it will be sent to them that day, because they are living alone, they're living away from families, and I think that they might be missing their home food. So if it's in my house, I would like to send it to someone, especially if it's that little something. But that's who I am as an individual. Now, I can't talk about this on social media, and I can't mention that kind of a thing, but sometimes it's these little things about oneself that can go stretch a relationship to a next level. And I think I want them to know that Tina will always be there if you need something like this. How are you communicating your likes? I'm a reader. I talk a lot about my reading. I separate what I do in personal reading, I separate what I do in professional reading, and I like to talk about that separately, so people know that Tina's always looking for books. I asked someone the other day, can you send me a list? And she joked back that I'll send you a menu, you can pick from there which ones you want. So that's become a little association between the two of us now. Establishing your credibility, of course, thought leadership from your side is very critical. People will start to know that you're good at something and reach out to you for those kind of things. Enough said on this slide. I'm going to move on, because this is let's go right into how we can develop your personal brand. This is an exercise, and Bhavna and Charu, if you want to do a breakout session, or you want them to just take this away, probably the next one can be. Let me just finish discussing this. So there are three aspects to how we think you can start this immediately. The first aspect is about discovering who you are. Who are you? What are you good at? What are your interests? And what are your values? Write down the four things: you, your excellence at something, your interests, your values. These are very important because everything that you put out there has to be evocative or depictive of these four things. So I know when I said my values are being there for someone, it comes across. Sometimes I can just put up the picture of what I'm doing, saying, hope you enjoy this little meal. There was somebody who sent me a lovely Tamilian meal one day. And I remember how she did it. She had different boxes. She had little notes on each box telling me about what it is. And she had little happy messages for me on everything. I mean, it takes only that much to say this girl cares. This person is a human being that has a certain ethic. This person is a caring individual. This person has personal connects with others. So it can show you those little aspects. What are you? Who are you? Who are you good at? What are you good at? Work related and home related stuff. What are your interests? Is it reading? Is it Bharatnatyam? Is it something? Is it making a good home? Is it being, upcycling something? What are your values? What are your values? You believe in complete integrity. You are high on growing women. You want to be known as someone who helps others. What are the different things that you're known for? And once you've established that, how can you position this in accordance with what your audience might be out there as well, right? What is your audience looking at? Audience doesn't want to know what Tina cooks. Audience wants to know what Tina is going to possibly look at a brand like. So how can I leverage what my skills are in terms of being curious, being detail-oriented, being a good writer, being somebody who's articulate? How can I leverage that towards giving somebody a little bit of input on what I can do something better as? And so what can you do to position? First, you'll have to identify, of course, who is your audience. Is my LinkedIn audience largely, and Varsha has a beautiful slide that she'll share with you in terms of how audiences are different on the different platforms. And my LinkedIn audience sometimes hears about what I post on Instagram, but they don't always hear it. And because I don't have too much time, I have chosen to keep the same format of all the communication that I send out. So on LinkedIn and on Twitter and on Instagram, it is the same thing. My Facebook, I maintain only for my personal connections. So it is the same thing, but it is repurposed or shortened for different platforms. And then when I go out to manage, maintaining and sustaining that, you have to maintain that position. People always come and tell me that, you know what, we are amazed that Pink Lemonade has never relinquished its position as the first 3 on SEO. But that is hard work. We've spent a lot of hard work maintaining that position for our brand. And likewise, if I stop talking about what I stand for, which is brands, how can brands go to market, and what are the good examples of branding in the Indian and global context, obviously my brand will get diluted after a while. So I have to be at it. And that's where the biggest stress for many people is, because it takes time to build content. Please set aside time to build that content for yourself. And I cannot overemphasize this. If you can't set time, then you will have to find somebody wonderful like I found Varsha, and she manages my content today. And I do send her a ton of things and say, I want to talk about this, but she's learned Tina's voice and style. So she maintains everything herself today. Very few times that I have to tell them that this is what I want. She's of course supported by someone else in the organization as well. But I have realized I don't have time for doing this, because my personal brand, I maintain myself. My professional brand, I need someone to maintain for me. And Pink Lemonade's brand, I need someone to maintain for me, because the organization is large today. So I can't do some things myself. But I know a lot of people who do it themselves, and we have lovely examples for you after this. Let's get right into the next one. Charu, how are we doing on time? Do you want to just tell us?
It is 11:45 right now.
Okay, we have 45 minutes. Okay, this is where we can get into a quick 7 minutes breakout if you like.
Okay,
and,
all right.
You can break them into groups of 2 or 3. And this is where they can quickly jot down this. If they have trouble jotting it down, they can ask each other that what are the things that, what do you think I can write in this? But you know yourself best. So what are you good at? Write 3 things under each of these. And please write those things. Of course, the things that will come first to your mind is important. But what are the things you can communicate? Write only those. Please don't write the ones that you can't communicate. Okay, you may be very good at writing erotic poetry or whatever, but you don't want to talk about that, so don't write it. Write 3 things that you can take it out there. Okay, so let's break them out if you want.
So yeah, I'll be breaking you all out. All the attendees, I'll be putting you all into breakouts, and for 7 minutes. Yes, or should we make it 8?
You can make it 8. I don't mind.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
You have to think about this.
Yeah.
Sometimes some of these may overlap, but more often than not, try to find unique ones and think about what's trending in the world. What niche can you occupy?
So, Charu, what are we doing? Groups of 2 or 3 for 8 minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
I think everyone's joining. Every time I think of a breakout room, now I think of Conscious Woman Summit and the workshop.
Oh, interesting. So Tina and Varsha have joined breakouts also.
Yes. Somehow I didn't get a message to join any.
But one of us will need to be here in the main room.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But you know, typically how you get a pop-up.
The person who sets it up doesn't get it, I think.
Doesn't get it?
I might, there are a few, Hitesha has just joined. You can put her in a breakout. Uh-oh. Hey, Tina.
Hi, Charu. I was given a room 8, but no one joined in room 8. Hello, Charu. Can you hear me?
Yeah. One sec.
I was given a room 8, but no one joined in room 8. So
Sorry, your name is?
Soumya.
Soumya, 1 second. Let me try and assign you to another room. I don't know how to do this. Soumya. Dolly and Shweta did not join, is it? Wait, maybe
So you had assigned me room number 8. I was waiting, no one joined, so I came back to the main room.
yeah, I'm just trying to see how to assign you to another room. One second, I got it.
Hi, Dipali. How are you?
I'm good, Tina. It's just that I'm not. I had decided that I will just listen to this one, so apologies, I'm not participating. Sorry.
I saw the lovely piece of jewelry this morning on Insta.
You just saw it. I just posted it.
I just saw it in the morning, sometime back. Bhavna, do you know Dipali?
Yes, of course. Hi, Dipali. How are you?
Hi, I'm very good. Thank you, ladies. Tina, I totally take your point on the video bit.
Don't worry.
That point that you're making, but yeah, I'm not in any condition to put my video on because I decided I'll be doing other things and listening to this talk today. But I'm really liking what you're saying.
Thank you. But it makes such a difference even doing what you've done to put that picture out there, because there is at least a face looking at you and you can associate with what the individual is, because sometimes even that makes a difference. So that's fine. I can understand.
Yeah, I'm getting another call. Sorry.
Sure, go right ahead. Hi, Mubin. Thank you for coming in. Charu and Bhavna, Mubin works with us, and it's very nice that he decided to join. Sorry.
Thanks for having me, Tina.
That's nice of you to join.
I'm back with you.
So Tina, once everybody's back, we're going to ask them to share their experience.
No, this is for them to have identified. I'm
Okay.
not going to spend time in that. This is for them to identify, because they have to choose the few things. Maybe we can ask just one or two to describe what they've written in all five as an example to the others. Yeah.
Okay, just on the chat, or do you want them to share it?
They can speak it.
All right. So if you can just.
I will ask.
Yeah.
I will ask. I'm ready to share. Otherwise, I'll. Because this is the starting point. If we don't do this, we're just ad hoc out there, communicating ad hoc. We're not really putting it across in a structured manner.
Right.
Sorry, I've had some silly electricity trouble this morning, and I don't know whether it's coming back.
About to come back. Another minute.
Abdul, do you represent an organization called Numero?
Yes, Tina, I represent the organization called Numero.
Very nice. Thank you for changing that, and it's.
Yeah, I mean, I changed it after hearing you, so I should thank you. Actually.
And see, we've noticed it, and we're looking at what Numero may be. So, like I said, I'm naturally curious, so then I will notice these things, but others do too. And thank you. You're a gentleman on the call, and appreciate you coming in here. Yeah. So these are the questions that we answered. Is everybody back? Yes.
Everyone's back. Yeah.
If you want, you can take a quick picture and then we move on into the next part of the session. One or two of you can possibly tell us what did you come up with and give us an example of that, please. Just quickly read out what you're about and others can take an example. Anyone can volunteer? Someone with their videos on, come on. Take the chance, nothing's bad. Yes, Anubha, please come in. It's you,
Thanks.
It's not be good or bad, it's you, it's what you are, come on.
All right. So what came up? Okay. So I'm a ceramic artist and currently being trained to coach people using embodiment of their body. And I'm good at facilitating people. I'm good at being innovative. And I'm a considerate and kind person most of the time. And I would like to bring more discipline in my life. And I would also like to bring a better articulation and communication in what I do, and be more time bound and prompt in everything. I would like to be known. I am known for being calm, competent, and straightforward. And what I want to be known is for being effective, being reliable, and also maintaining time mindfulness. And what I am interested is in making a difference in people's lives.
Awesome. I really love some of the things that you've mentioned, because I can see how you can use each of those to bring out what you are as an individual, which will also affect what you do as coaching. And the innovation straight away goes towards your creativity. The timeliness, discipline, consideration for others all goes towards your coaching. And you can use these very well to establish yourself in both these buckets, both these areas. Thank you for sharing. It also shows me that you're courageous, because you've chosen to speak amongst a bunch of people who you don't know, and I can take away some other tacit readings from this. So people will always, like we say, 53% of communication is not verbal. So what you've done otherwise is also speaking about you. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Tina.
Yeah. So we can move on, actually, in the interest of time. I won't, spend more time now to give you more impact here. Just give me 1 sec. Yeah. So who are you when you've listed all of these things in terms of your professional and personal, attributes? There's also, what do you have in terms of achievements? Is there something that you're known for, you've certified in, you are good at in terms of, I'm a linguistic individual and I have capabilities in 7 languages. That immediately tells somebody something about you. I am a certified trainer in French. I am a trained salsa dancer, or those kind of things. It shows people other things about you. Sometimes these achievements can be useful to the others. So if communicated the right way, they will reach out. I've given you examples of Bhavna earlier. There are other people. I will show you as we go on later. And whatever it may be, it could be your personal, educational, it could be your professional achievements, it could be memberships that you are a part of. And through that, you've possibly done something for society, an award that you won collectively, a piece of art that you put up somewhere at BIAL as a collective group. All of that is an achievement, because everybody else is not able to do stuff like this. And please go right ahead and share some of these additional things. So Varsha has a beautiful image for us out here. You can go back, Varsha, 1 sec. Yeah, this one. It says your personal brand or brand you is defined by your image, your mission, your values, and your vision then. Out of these attributes that you wrote in the previous slide, you can actually pick up and say, what is the vision out of these that I want to take forward? So Anubha shared with us some stuff about her coaching. She also shared some stuff about her being creative. If coaching is her vision, she will have to start communicating more about that and more about the timeliness, care, consideration, and other aspects that she mentioned. And then as an aspect of that vision, her short-term mission will be to communicate around some of these things. You mentioned you want to be more articulate in the way you come across. So your mission is directly to possibly upskill yourself where that's concerned. Possibly a speaking opportunity, or join the Toastmasters, speaking course, etc., or something that you can participate in that will hone that aspect of yours. And I know I've spoken about this to some members in my organization as well. And naturally, That vision has to be substantiated by smaller pieces of what you do. Yes, Varsha, you can go ahead. Thank you. We'll go further into definition of the personal brand. It's essentially something that you feel most confident about and something that you can achieve in the short term. So obviously you might have a long-term vision, but you're not going to be doing that. It's more of the mission part of it. What are you immediately feeling confident about? And in the short term and immediate, what are you able to talk about? What are the strengths, areas, achievements that you can talk about in the short term? And list out those. Just make a quick note of this or take a picture of this. And what are you feeling confident about? And if you're not feeling confident about, example, what she's saying, if she's not feeling confident enough about the coaching, then you're not ready to talk about it just yet. If you're not feeling articulate enough to shoot a video or a reel, then you clearly have some work over there left, right? So work left there. And therefore you should upskill yourself in that before you start taking it out there. So what's in the short term and immediate? And then please set midterm goals, because you eventually have to come to your vision. Go ahead, Varsha. This is another nice one. Varsha, do you want to quickly explain?
Sure. So when you're listing down what you're good at, what you're known for, those are more skill-based and kind of things that you can create content around that's more direct. What are some of the things that you want in terms of your personality to show through in the content that you make? So when you're talking about being caring, there's no, I mean, you can't just say I care directly. But if you do if you show, let's say you are amplifying a local store, or if you are helping someone out, or if you're amplifying someone else's cause to say donate to this or help them, that's an indirect way of showing that you care about a certain cause or you care about others. So jot down some 5 to 7 aspects of your personality that you would like people to associate to your personal brand, that you're caring, that you are you are perceptive, precise, detail oriented. So I have some of these examples here: eloquent, enterprising. So think about 5 to 7 aspects of your personality that you really feel like builds your core, and have those come out in the content that you create as well.
I want to tell you that Pink Lemonade gets a lot of requests for senior professionals. Can you please conduct a personal branding workshop for senior professionals? And, we do the entire thing with them, listing out everything and taking them through stuff like this. But please take a picture again of this one, and please try and use some of this, because personal branding is important as you rise in your career. It's really important at the senior levels, because people then look to you to how they should emulate them, and to look to you to emulate, and how they should plan their careers. Yeah, let's go ahead, please. Quickly, I'll run you through this. So Varsha, you can run them through this. Come, let's go.
So firstly, I think, so these are some steps to, what you're trying to achieve with, your personal brand. So first, objective, clearly outline your goal. If it's to gain more followers, if you are trying to gain more, if it's lead generation, if you are a podcaster, you want to gain more listeners, a clearly outlined objective will then help you with the next steps moving forward. Again, what is your target audience? Everyone cannot be your audience, and that then content creation across the board will become a little difficult. It's easier when you identify or sort of, target audiences, identify your target audience. That way your content and strategy can be geared towards these people. So it could be entrepreneurs, industry leaders, decision makers, etc. Identifying the right platform. So like I said in the beginning, there are a multitude of platforms, and being on all of them can be overwhelming, time consuming, and also some of them may not just be apt to what your goal is. So assess what social media platforms work for you and make sense for your brand. If, being a part of webinars, workshops, video calls, video meetings, just talking to people, if that's something that helps you, then put your effort towards that. And the last thing is sort of doing a competitor analysis, not necessarily a competitor, but look at people within the same niche, or look at people that share the same interests professionally and personally, interests, strengths, who are building their brand as well, and sort of assess what they're doing right, what is not working for them, what kind of content are they churning out, how are they positioning themselves, and of course, who are they following and connecting with? Because then you can sort of gain some learnings from what they're doing and apply it to your strategy that you are building for your personal brand.
Any questions? And you can write in the chat, and I'll definitely be happy to answer. Khushbu, I'm giving you some tips right now, and maybe we can connect later as well, and I'll have a longer conversation as to how you can make it make use of the aspect that you just mentioned. Varsha, go on. You can take this, please.
Sure. So articulating your personal brand. So now that we have this, we did this activity where you've sort of shortened and come to, 5 to 10 things that you want to communicate and aspects of your personality that you want to come through in your content and the way you're communicating your personal brand. Summarize them in about 150 words, right? This is sort of an introduction combining who you are both personally and professionally, because your personal brand is an amalgamation of both. And of course, what your purpose is. This in first person is the best, because then there's a personal connection there and people think you are sort of directly talking to them and speaking to them. And this can be used as a bio for as your bio on social media, speaking engagement bios. Of course, when you're introducing yourself, this is a reference. This is an elevator pitch for brand you. You are selling your brand and you are making your mark. So this is a very, very important aspect of building your personal brand.
So many of us don't even realize that people check our bios on Instagram and on LinkedIn, of course, yes. But, I've seen very cleverly, if somebody is wanting something done, they change their bio immediately, because that little tidbit of you shows up even in a preview on most of these platforms. So when they're looking out for something immediately, instead of saying entrepreneur and owner, blah, blah, they change that to saying that looking out for the smartest CTO I can get or something, So that shows immediately. So use that. Imagine the real estate and how important it is, because that comes across everywhere. Yes, we'll go ahead.
The other thing that I wanted to add is that some of these bios do have word limits. So the activity that we did in this introduction will help you sort of shorten and articulate those specific things that you want to put out there that are the most important and on your sort of priority list to get out there. So I'm going to be diving a little bit in, or Tina, would you like to take this?
I can take it. I'll take it.
Sure.
There are a few things outside of the social media, but still digitally out there, which you can possibly use as impactful places. I have received beautiful email signatures with someone with a little bit of a story there, a Buddhist Zen story, or something like, if I have 100 hours in a day, I'll spend 90 sharpening my axe and 10 cutting down the tree. So that shows me so much about what that individual is like, and planning and preparedness is important to them. I've received little somethings where the email signature, of course, changes, but what do they write just before that email signature is so important about them. So these little things are important to further accentuate. These are properties available to us that we don't realize, but it's all telling you something about what you're sharing. Salutations, how are you greeting someone? We'd often say that please don't, so I'm again giving an organization's name, but I'm going to avoid that then. We are working with an organization that is of a spiritual, religious nature. All their salutations to us are in the way they greet everybody, and absolutely full kudos for what it is within the organization. And that's an extension of them by coming to us. But when you are greeting someone in the professional workplace, you're using a salutation of Hare Ram or something like that. You have to be careful of what it will depict of you. Or you are saying Radhe Radhe or something. You have to be careful of what it is going to. Are you happy for them to depict that of yourself? Are you happy for them to make some call or judgment on you? And if you are, kudos to you. You can, you are strong enough to take it. But if it's impacting what your professional workplace is, then you be a little careful. If professional impression is, be a little careful is what I'd suggest. And very often we've come down to a high, but I have noticed because of my defense background, if anyone wishes me with good morning Tina or good evening Tina, it makes a world of difference to me. It stops me right there and I say how lovely of them to have taken. And I've taught the kids that as well. Please wish people good morning and good evening and good afternoon. Have a good night. Address them with, otherwise hi is of course, globally accepted today. But be careful if you're using religious terms, because that will have a connotation of on the person in front of you. So that's one of the requests, or rather suggestions I'd make. Dipali, you have something for us in the chat. Do let your salutation be anything. Do not let it be anything with ethnicity. Yeah, it's non-inclusive, I agree. But on the other side, people may also say there's freedom of speech, and I can say what I think works for me. Like I said, if it works for you, you're happy to represent that personal brand, go right ahead. Bios and statuses, Varsha just spoke about the bios. WhatsApp has a status, every other medium has a status. But what are you putting out on your WhatsApp status? Have you realized that's such an important real estate? And it does preview when people see you first. They can go to info and see that about yourself. I often I see people putting up trivia and trivial stuff as well on their WhatsApp. And then I say to myself, I don't know whether they realize everybody can see your WhatsApp statuses unless you hide it. So every customer that you are talking to can see your WhatsApp status unless you have blocked them. And why would you block a customer or a colleague? You can't. So what are you putting up there? Be careful. It's not just friends and family. On a call, you can use Zoom backgrounds, various settings. There's blur, there's backgrounds. Another lovely thing that you can do is, if you're in a leadership role, or even if you are in a role where you want to show impact on call, please just go to Canva or go to any other easy medium and set yourself a Zoom background or a Microsoft Teams background. Write a nice quote in the back, or ask them, how are you feeling today? I'm having a great morning. Something like that. That's a conversation starter. What do you think your team members will say when they see something like that? They'll say, thank you for bringing that up, and thank you, we're feeling lovely. There was someone at Pink Lemonade who would come in every morning and say, good morning, sunshine. She would tell everybody. And it was so beautiful because everybody would feel happy, and she would just call everybody sunshine. And that's her personal brand. We remember her with that, right? So yeah, that's what I wanted to just add. A couple of live examples. So this is an important slide. Please use some of these in the digital world, because you really can't go out there and spend money on promoting yourself, promoting businesses. These are little things you can do that is subliminal marketing. So please do that. Go right ahead. You can get easily carried away with what you're amplifying. So please maintain a balance out there. And I think this is very important. There are certain times, like journalists like Faye D'Souza can have their political views out there and without any harm to anyone. If you are in an environment that has a bearing, or if you are a leader that has a bearing on the workplace, please be careful of putting such stuff out. Those are personal views, but be careful how much you put out there then. Because sometimes it can look like polarizing, and naturally your followers will feel the same way. Sometimes it may feel that you are pretty rigid and inflexible on certain things. Of course, anything that we do is opening up to people thinking a certain way about us. You may say, I have a care a damn attitude, but you must also be prudent enough to know that it will have an impact on the way your career proceeds after that, the way opportunities come by. Okay. Varsha is giving examples of some of the background ideas. So Varsha and I were discussing this. How about using those pyramids out there and say, guess where I am today? And you're sitting in your own drawing room, but you started a beautiful conversation. If you write just a headline out there, guess where I am today? And I could start a conversation with Bhavna asking, which of those books behind you have you read? And there was somebody else, a customer of mine, who had a similar background. And I said, is that a real bookshelf, or is that a picture you have? And he said, no, this is a real bookshelf. And then we got into a long conversation about what he's reading. So broke the ice straight away. Again, something like this, you can point to that camera at the bottom and say, if you had one picture to take out of this camera, what would it be today? It's a nice way, icebreaker for all those sleepy heads in the morning calls, stand-up calls. You can actually get them to talk about something. So yeah, go ahead, Varsha. You want to take this, Varsha, quickly?
Sure. So these are just some tips, especially on a Zoom call, now that that's what we're doing majority of the time. These are just a few tips to sort of help you boost your personal brand on a call. Showing up 5 minutes early, like we discussed earlier. Timeliness tells a lot about you. Punctuality. I mean, you would like to be associated with, as someone who shows up on time, is values other people's time as well. So showing up 5 minutes early is a great way. Framing yourself well. So again, center of the screen, have your face sort of in the center, not towards the side where you can see half your face, or maybe up your nostril if it's kind of on a lower platform. Bad lighting, those kinds of things are also important. So frame yourself well in the center, making eye contact. Those are really important things as well when you're on a Zoom call, especially when there's no personal connect face to face. Comfort equals confidence, in the sense that find a comfortable spot where you feel good about yourself, and that in turn will exude confidence onto your call. If you're in a place where there's a lot of movement happening and you're sitting in an awkward chair or something like that, that uncomfortability will show up on your Zoom call. Even if you're not intentionally showing it, I'm sure other people will be noticing some of these small things on a screen. So let those on calls see your eyes. And this is something that happens to me a lot because my glasses reflect what I'm seeing. People are not able to see my eyes, and that sort of becomes impersonal as well. And there's this habit of people sort of having their self-view on, so looking at themselves when they're talking, being conscious about how they look and sound on camera. And that can be really distracting. Whereas now, when I'm sitting on this call, I have a speaker, I have sort of all of you on the side, and I'm not able to see myself. And that in turn, I'm sort of looking into the camera, looking, it looks like I'm looking into your eyes and speaking to you. So that also makes an impact. Brand your background, like Tina said, have something interesting in your background that sort of, if there's a space in your house that, that looks neat and is a conversation starter, sort of keep that space as your sort of nook to take your Zoom calls. One interesting thing here that I want to also mention is if you are someone who watches YouTube videos a lot, or you have people in your family that do that, a lot of YouTubers are sort of very identifiable by their backgrounds because they sort of maintain that consistency throughout all their videos, their thumbnails. And so now, some of the YouTubers that I watch, I can sort of identify them based on the background that they usually film their videos on. So that, and the other thing that you can do is, if your sort of social media is themed to, let's say, a few colors, then you could also have your Zoom background in those colors, because then those colors are now associated with your brand. And then again on Zoom, of course, it's again an identifiable sort of thing for you to do. Consistent interaction and engagement. So constantly, sort of interact, ask questions, look engaged, even if you don't have much to say, because that's how you are telling your, people on the call that you are paying attention, as opposed to being on your phone or not making eye contact, looking somewhere, things like that. Dress to impress, of course, in the sense that ask yourself why you are dressed this way. And then, yeah, Tina, would you like to take this? I think this is something.
Sorry, I just cut you there, but I just want to say, why do you dress up when you go to a birthday party for someone? Why don't you go in your pajamas? Ask yourself that question and decide what you want to do in terms of whether you should dress for the call or not for the call. You're turning out best, right? It's an opportunity. I always ask the brands I work with, you have one opportunity to put your best foot forward. Why would you lose it? And I agree, if it's an everyday call at work, you may not want to, but I have a memory to share, which is indelible, of course, because when the COVID started, I had one person from my organization who came on a morning call, because I was trying to do calls with all the people. He came on the morning's call with his hair disheveled and that big, with sleepy eyes, and right into the camera. And I had to actually ask, have you just woken up? I felt exactly that he had just woken up and he was not ready to have this call. And I felt sorry for him, because it may have been a late night, it may have been extra work at home or whatever it was. But I felt really terrible that he had to turn on his video because I was on the call and this is how he was. But that memory has never gone away ever after that. Whenever I have spoken to him, that's the memory in my head, no matter how well he dresses up. So why do we dress up when we go out of the house? We can go in our PJs, right? So exactly why, because you'd like to possibly turn out in a certain manner. But you know what? Dress is a personal choice, and therefore I will not say anything further. You choose what you want to communicate and then dress and then attend the call. That's the way I put it. Go ahead, Varsha. We have a quick activity for you all. And please put in the first word that comes to your mind when you see a person on a Zoom call like this. First words, quickly, no thinking. It's first words, because that's what we will carry away. Lovely, let's go quick. Okay, lax, where Shali is saying lax, dreamer,
Distracted.
Distracted, lovely. Casual, video off.
They
Turn your
don't care.
Okay. They're happy, Mithila. Yes, very happy. Too much happiness sometimes has the wrong impression on your colleague.
Not interested.
Not interested. Okay.
I missed the question, Tina.
The question was, when they see a person like this on a Zoom call, what's the impression you carry away? Thinking of something else? That's right. Yes.
Not formal.
And naturally, it is not. But I can tell you, some of the people on my calls have turned up lying down in their bed, and we are sitting right here, and they possibly not realized cameras are on. And look at Dipali, full kudos. Huh? She's turned on her camera, sat at the place that she thinks she should represent herself. Awesome. She's a real thorough professional, I have to say. When she wasn't ready, she didn't turn it on. So yes, let's go to the next one. No comments further on this. What would you say of this? People on this call? All of them are okay? You have any thoughts? Happy in their personal space, engaged, career-minded. Dipali, very right, career-minded. Engaged, being good, attentive, engaged, prepared for the call, professional and prepared, serious. What would you want? You decide. Of course, these are two extremes. What would you want? Today's day and age, you can also be business casuals. You don't have to be so formal, right? You can be in business casuals. You can turn out well. And you know what the beauty is? And it's a big joke. You're wearing something else on top and something else underneath. And everybody knows that today. But that's the joy of working at home. So that's just some little exercise we wanted to do. And let's go right ahead. Social platforms. Varsha, we'll go through a little quickly here.
Sure. So I'll just quickly go over this. Instagram is, I have left Facebook aside because Facebook predominantly is used for a more personal interaction, as a personal interaction platform, but your personal brand can, translate into Facebook as well, but I've left it out for this particular section. So Instagram is one of the most widely used social platforms today. And of course, there's a younger audience, but there is a growing older audience as well, joining Instagram, mainly maybe for cooking videos or something like that, but they're on it. Of course, now Instagram has an algorithm to sort of feed into, and, quantity is helpful in the nascent stage when you're trying to build followers. The more you post, the more sort of visibility you get. And then, once you have a good follower base built and a loyal follower base, then you can move into sort of a more quality focused content that is maybe only about 3 to 4 times a week. When I say quantity, I don't mean mindlessly posting, of course, but something that, isn't as curated to your social media platforms. Of course, there are multiple formats on Instagram, which I will just quickly go over in the next slide. And of course, there is a great analysis bit on Instagram that's available that you can sort of use to see what's working, what's not working, who your audience is, and things like that.
Varsha, we just go through the examples a little faster. Huh? I mean, we
Sure.
spend time on examples. I just want to add here that Instagram has a whole lot of formats. We are a little uncomfortable with some of these formats, but please realize your Instagram will only work if you use all the formats. I personally don't use all because I don't have time for my the writing profile that I have. But for my professional profile, we are going to start putting all of these. Instagram has created these so that you can use all of them. And the ones that use as many as often as possible will see the followership increasing. So these are all available online. You can talk about them. I won't spend time here.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
And
Varsha.
one thing to also remember is, depending on what content you're putting out there, you can choose the format that matches that. So this sort of is available online, and we can obviously send you a picture of this as well. But this is just a slide on all the 6 formats that are available on Instagram. Then, of course, there's an algorithm which I won't spend too much time on, but this is sort of, how frequently your user is interacting with you, the engagement, of course, how recently it was posted and things like that. So I'll get into some of those details in the next slide. But this is just a slide generally on how, understanding the algorithm that Instagram has to sort of boost your social media, your Instagram presence.
Take a picture of this one if you want. Take a picture of this one. The one that you should worry about today is how many people save. Because if you save, they get served more of stuff like this. So also there are other things, and go ahead, Varsha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So quickly, I'll just go over this approach. One thing is that your feed can be sort of templatized, like Tina said, on Canva or something like that, to maintain an aesthetic and a visual brand. But for Tina's social media, for example, we don't do that. We pretty much we don't have a visual aesthetic as such, and we just take pictures from wherever we see it and we post it. And that's also completely fine. It depends on how you want to go about it. Frequency, like I mentioned, posting every day can be helpful while trying to grow followers, and then posting about 3 to 4 times a week, more consciously or more curated content once a follower base is built. Content, again, leverage the multitude of formats to post about, different things like your personal experiences, engagement activities that you're involved in, professional milestones, promoting something that you're doing, of course, thought leadership and commenting on industry trends and so on. So this will sort of come from the activity that you did earlier about what you'd like to communicate.
Varsha, let me come in here. I'm just going to move further, but just by mentioning a few things. Take few things that you post as stories, maintain highlights. Don't forget your highlights. Look at the times you got maximum engagement, use that. Be ready sometimes to participate in moment marketing. That's very critical because it's trending and people are following that hashtag. And lastly, please research a little on the kind of hashtags that you're going to use. The new rule for Instagram is it's not going to allow too many hashtags, not more than 8. So please be careful about the hashtags that you choose. We'll move on to the next slide. Yeah, because I'd like to share examples. Ankur Variku is an excellent example of personal branding. He has moved from being the CEO of Nearby to becoming an influencer and a professional coach and speaker today. And the way he talks is excellent. Just going to share this with you. You can take down names if you want and look at their profiles yourself. But you can see how beautifully he plans his videos. He's not conscious about the videos he does. Go on, please. This is my sister actually, and I really want to talk to you about her because she's a personal, she handles her Instagram personally, and she's a very well-known gynecologist, in fact, one of the best in Pune. Look at what she's done on the right-hand side and the grid that she's maintained over here. There's labor diaries on the left-hand side, which talks about stories of labor. And there are pictures which are very well color coordinated for her profile. And she gets great kudos on her work that she does. Now, some of you mentioned you're creative, but I know this lady spends a lot of time on her Instagram creation personally. Even though I run an agency, she doesn't ask me for it. She does it all by herself because that's her innovative streak. And that's her creative streak. But it's maintained so beautifully. She does a lot of, reels. Does more than me being in communication. I don't do so many. I just wanted to show you an example of somebody who can do it. Okay, so go check it out if you want to see how she does it. And interviewing the heads of Jahangir Hospital here and Ask Me Anything session. Go ahead, please, to the next one. Here's another lady who does it very well, Alpa, who's created a very good base for herself. Look at the way Alpa brands her posts on the right-hand side. Very nice. Tip of the day. What do your clients actually buy when they invest in you as a coach? She's got examples. She's got tons of reels. Alpa does a whole lot of reels as well. She's a personal coach and very, very good, based out of Mumbai. She's also pivoted her career. She's moved from being a professional, software professional, I think, or management professional, to a coach. And her journey of coaching started all by herself. And she's really created a beautiful space for herself. And I can see today her posts are very beautifully branded. She does a number of reels. And your question is, why do I consider Alpa to be a success on Instagram? Because I've seen the journey and I've watched how it was a personal account to now an Alpa Ignite Speak. So Ignite Spark is her brand for coaching. And she's moved from a personal profile to this, and getting a followership of 1,136 is not easy. She's a nano influencer today by that. And how she's managed to put it across, extremely well branded. Well, the story of that, the branding of gold and black carried forward in all her posts. She comes across as an individual who's genuine, because her posts are not so fake and things like that. Like, they're professional. But if you look at her reels, it's Alpa. It's what Alpa is herself. It's not somebody who's in a studio and with makeup and things like that and doing things. And very nicely put out content. Look at the number of highlights she's put out here. Let's go ahead. Yes, Dipali, you're an influencer as well. We won't cover this. Let's go right into the examples, Varsha.
Sure.
Let's go into the examples. Gary Vaynerchuk, big one in our space of branding and marketing. Please write his name down and look at what he's done. Extremely casual, informal videos, but loaded with content, loaded with information. Everything he says, people watch 100 times. And all formats he has broken through. He's broken through from broadcast to videos, to vlogs, to blogs, ask me anything sessions. Everything is there on all the handles he follows. You can get huge amount of inputs from him. Go right ahead.
Tina,
yes.
can we just let people see the slide with the best practices? They can take a picture, maybe. Like there was a request. So just if you can go to LinkedIn.
LinkedIn best practices, go ahead.
Attendees, please take a print screen or take a picture if you want. Sure, we can move on.
This is a best practice. So one of the things you do, and I have seen some professionals always talking about themselves. One of the things you should do is also make yourself a conduit for introduction to others. Make yourself a conduit for helping others discover the important points for themselves. How can they grow? How can you give more to them than always talking about yourself? And therefore also engage with what others are doing. Engage, participate, applaud, praise, communicate with what others are doing out there. It's not only about I want this, I'm speaking here, I'm doing this. It's not only about that, but give as much. If you look at HubSpot's calendar of communication, they don't promote any product or service unless they've given you enough. But when they've engaged you and hooked you, that's when you start talking about yourself, if you have to. So that's also one of the tacit principles. Karthik Srinivasan, Beast of Trial. I think it's not Best of Trial, it's Beast of Trial. Varsha, just possibly you can.
Yes, I'll
just note his handle is it's Beast of Trial is a brilliant example of personal branding. His book, Be Social, Building Brand You Online is excellent. Please look at what he does. He is a master at Twitter, master at LinkedIn, and excellent example. Please look at what Anshu does. Anshu's talking in the chat here, but yes, Anshu's very valid question. Anshu, you're asking your brand has grown because of you. How can you let it, how can it free off your personal brand from your corporate brand? Anshu, you do this very well, because when you see Anshu participating, even today she's participating as food for thought, and she's not participating as Anshu. In all her WhatsApp communications and other aspects, you will see her participating as her brand. But Anshu, maybe we can talk a little more about what are the things you can do to push the brand and how it's relevant to others as well. Lovely examples of Karthik back here on the screen. Karthik is fantastic where his personal brand is concerned and what he stands for today. I know many people who fashion themselves on him, and he's always talking about branding, communication, and he's been a role model to many of them. Go forward, please.
Sorry, Tina, one thing I'd like to interject here is also that he's using something very simple, right? An email that came from Swiggy or watching a TV show, but he's able to create content, simple, easy content that's interesting and that gets a lot of traction with things that are just happening every day or that he's seeing every day. So that's
simple stuff. He's always taking simple snapshots and pictures from the newspaper, like the last right-hand side one, but he's giving an important update on that, and then he takes it to a blog. So he uses the micro channels here to just introduce, and then he writes a proper blog on it where you can get more out of him. So yeah, so, go ahead with this, please.
Sure.
No, go ahead, explain that to them. That's the difference.
So this is just explaining all the different social media platforms. This is a cupcake, and this is how you sort of you sort of communicate that same thing on the different platforms that are available. So you can also take a screenshot of this in terms of, messaging on each of these different platforms. How do you sort of adapt the same content to fit these different platforms that are available to us?
So it's interesting to note, what would you say again, that they've taken a picture, I hope, because this is what you say on different platforms. The same content can be repurposed for different platforms in many cases. In many cases, it may not be, but be careful, and the way you say it is really what matters. Go ahead, please. Okay. Last, I think, recommendations from us. Go ahead, Varsha.
So making shareable, savable content. So content that is attractive and that, like Tina said, saving content is what is really helpful. So make memorable content, personalizing content, writing in first person so that people feel like you are personally speaking to them and there's that personal connection that's made. Follow and comment, follow other people and comment on their things as well. It's not just a one-way street, you give, you take kind of a thing. So follow and comment on other leaders, that people that you're following, other leaders in the same space, complementary niches. Interact with others so that there is that bond created on this virtual platform as such. Sticking to your content schedule is important. People like to see consistency and activity. So if you have sort of made a schedule for yourself and that's what you've been sort of following, then maintain that consistency so that people know that you are sort of committed to building this personal brand that you are building. Of course, creating a visual theme if possible. This is something that's identifiable with you, but it's not mandatory. It's something that you can do maybe when you have the time or when you have a team to manage it or something like that. It can be something, or if you have the bandwidth to do it by yourself, it's a great way to sort of make something identifiable to your brand, just like you would a corporate brand.
Just you saw Alpa's brand as that. It comes across very well today. I think that's all from us, Varsha. Is that that's a calendar example, because Varsha maintains a calendar as to how she puts it up, and maybe you can also take an example from here.
And this may be a little more sort of detailed, but you can just maintain a Google document with notes, right? It's just a place for you to sort of, it's something to hold you accountable. So yeah. And then we just have some other examples of general, things. So I'll just quickly run you through these examples.
Just let's run through the examples. Okay?
Yeah, I'll just show you some of their work. So again, Dane Walker, this seems like he has a team because his content is very curated, but it looks nice, and this is like something that when you see this, this is Dane Walker. Again, on LinkedIn, he posts things about his podcast because he is a podcaster as well. And he uses LinkedIn to promote his podcast, which is something that, because of the format of LinkedIn, it's easier to do it on that. Karthik Srinivasan, who we just discussed. Again, he is someone that doesn't have a visual aesthetic in terms of like a specific branding as such. He pretty much posts anything and everything that he finds. But he does a really good job of, the content that he creates. Again, LinkedIn, he pretty much, like Tina said, he has a blog. So he sort of introduces what he's doing and then he links it to a blog. And some of the content that he posts on Instagram, he also posts on LinkedIn. Sorry. Twitter, again, we already showed you an example, but here are some other examples of things that he sort of comments. Very simple, Twitter being something where there is a character count. He just has some simple tweets, but they do well. Gary Vee, again, his brand is sort of like out there. He's vocal, he's active, he's sort of eccentric in some of his videos. And that shows in the way he brands himself with all of these bold text and the way that he does his branding on Instagram. Twitter and LinkedIn, again, on LinkedIn, he does some of these small snippets. And of course, on Twitter, again, very simple thoughts, but look at the, performance of what he's posting.
He's massive and what she said is absolutely right. His brand is very flamboyant. Yeah, very flamboyant. He will never dress for an interview. You'll see how he is, but that's him. But the content makes all the sense. Once he talks, it's total pearls of wisdom. And he's always like, oh my God, guys, nah. That's how he usually speaks in his videos as well. And that's very identifiable of him. Anand Mahindra, again, is another great example, chairman of Mahindra Group. But yeah, he posts a lot about cars and things like that. So that's another, again, look, his following on Twitter. This one is something to be noticed. I have now clocked over 30 years in the auto industry and experienced my shares of highs. But I must admit that a review of a car that launched, that ends like this is gratifying and a fulfilling moment. Anita, that's an answer to your question. How do you speak of something that doesn't seem to blow your own trumpet? He's talking about with great humility, he's saying it's a gratifying and fulfilling moment that despite having been in the industry for so long, when I receive a review like this, it completely humbles me. A beautiful way of saying this. And you're really not blowing your own trumpet that, hey, I won this, I'm speaking here, or whatever it is. You're acknowledging that despite everything and despite the stature he has, it still makes him very happy. So some example like that is a good one. And I'll
Then
give it, yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead.
Then, of course, Faye D'Souza, journalist, she of course comments on a lot of the current events. She's got her sort of IGTV videos where she sort of gives you the news. So again, this is something on brand, and since she's someone who is always talking about politics, it makes sense for her brand to sort of be vocal about it. But again, you have to be careful when you're doing this. Again, on Twitter, same thing. But one thing is also interesting is with all of the news that she turns out and comments about, she's just retweeted something about flowers in Karnataka, right? Which is also, I mean, that's also that says something about her brand and what she's passionate about as well.
Ecology and environment,
right? Again, Ankur, who we just saw, he leverages a lot of the different formats on Instagram, and he's gotten visual aesthetic to it, both for static posts and reels. Again, on LinkedIn, he simple posts that do well, because he's established himself as a thought leader and someone who knows his things.
Varsha, we'll wrap up on this.
Sure. I'll just quickly show you these slides, just so you can take them in.
Neil Patel is another example. You can take his name down and research. We'll wrap up here.
Sure.
Thank you. And thank you. Pause this and we can just quickly see if anyone wants to say anything. Bhavna, over to you. You want to check if someone has anything to share and say?
Oh, thank you, Varsha and Tina. Obviously, it seemed like there's so much to cover, so I'm feeling like an hour and a half really probably was short, and maybe we can do a follow-up session. Let's see. But I just have a few questions. That if anyone wants to get in touch with you all, can they get in touch with your?
Get in touch. I'm very happy for them to, if they learned anything from today and they want to start developing their personal brand, please tag us. I'd love to be tagged. And
so they should just tag you on LinkedIn.
Tag me, and they can communicate with us. Tina@pinklemonade.in. It's very simple. You can.
So what I will do is I will share your email ID when I send out the feedback form.
Please
and if you all have any questions, then you all can email Varsha and Tina. And thank you again. It's been I myself have so many questions. I think I'm going to have I'm going to get in touch with you guys. But thank you all for being also such a great audience always and showing up. This really I have to say, to all these participants, it's a real boost for us to keep trying to search what more can we put out there and doing this month on month. So thank you, and have a great week ahead. Of course, one important thing is that we do look forward to your feedback. So I'm pasting the link in the chat. I will also email you. So please do share your feedback. It really does make a huge difference to us, because it helps us know exactly what we should be focusing on, or what more we can do better, or what we're doing well. So that's about it. So thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Tina and Varsha. That was just chock full of insights. You really packed that with lots of wonderful insights for all of us. So thank you.
You're very passionate about this, so I'm really sorry if we took more time.
No, not at all. It was just means, like I said, we could go on. Probably we need to do a follow. Maybe we do need to do a follow-up session where we just say examples. We've done the preliminary thing and then the next. But
just go out there and be some rock stars. Just create a personal brand out there, all of you. Okay, and happy to stay connected. Thank you. Bhavna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Everyone. Have a lovely weekend.
You too. Bye.